Welcome to the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show. I am Joe Sibilia, and thank you for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you'll be notified anytime I post a new video. This will really help the channel grow, and I'd really appreciate it. My next guest found his way into one of hard rock's top bands via Myspace and has been in the band for 16 years. That band is Tesla, and my guest this week is Dave Rude. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. Thanks for watching.
It's the rock and roll and coffee show. Yeah, with Joe.
Do you realize it's taken us almost a year to get this set up?
Has it really?
I was looking through the messages. I'm like, man, it was like April 1st when we first started communicating last year.
Wow.
But here we are.
Here we are, man. I'm glad we kept at it, and now it's come to fruition.
Yeah. Man, so you've been home for a while, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, all of 2020 really, and then we did finally get to go out this past fall. We went out for a few months, like September, October, November, not like solid, but
Right.
a couple weeks here, a couple weeks there. So got to do some, a decent amount of touring, and then we had a few months off, which we're coming up to the end of it. We're going back out again at the beginning of March.
Because you guys, I believe you were out and then COVID hit you guys, right?
Yeah, wait, oh, just recent, like in the fall?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I mean, we kind of, man, we had like an interesting experience with all that, because we actually were probably one of the few bands who did tour in 2020 before we did. We did like everything you're not supposed to do before anyone knew you weren't supposed to do it. Literally, in January 2020, or like the first week of February 2020, we flew out to Florida, did a rock cruise with 3,000 people on a cruise ship, then got off the ship, went on a bus, and toured across like the East Coast and West for like 3 more weeks with like no anything. And that was just when people started to get like worried and like, I was like, things might change. And then we got home at the beginning of March, and like a week later, everything shut down. So like, it was weird, because it was like, wow, we literally were doing every single thing you're not supposed to do.
You're not supposed to do.
Right, and I think we pretty much luckily made it okay on that. But then, all this, year and a half at home, and then we finally go back out in August of, well, not this year, 2021, and we made it through 2 shows before, it hit the camp pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
And, we had to, it sucked. We had to cancel an entire month of touring.
Yeah.
After the first month in almost 2 years, so it was pretty rough. But everyone made it through. Everyone was all right, and
Good.
we had that month off and recovered, regrouped, and headed back out. Headed back out for a few more months, and that one was super fun because, I mean, dude, it'd be fun to play alone in front of a library at that point, like after so much time off. But the fact that we got to do all these cool solo shows, and we got to go out and support Leonard Skinner doing arenas, a bunch of those dates. It was really, really, amazing.
Man, were you a Skinner fan when you were younger?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, they're classics.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now you're back home in, where are you? In the Bay Area, right?
Yeah, Bay Area, near like Oakland and Berkeley.
And that's where you grew up?
Mm-hmm.
So you've stayed there the whole time, or did you move elsewhere?
No, stayed here the whole time. Came close to moving a couple times, and like LA is the obvious one for all the musicians here. Best to go move to LA, but this close. We were thinking actually moving to like Austin for a while. There's been a couple of almosts, but then I ended up joining Tesla, so it worked out perfect. And I love the Bay Area, so my friends, all my family here.
Yeah. What was the Bay Area like when you were growing up, the music scene? Because that was the early 90s when you were playing? Probably early 90s. And well, it's weird because
I guess the Bay Area music scene is cool, and I really love. It's very eclectic. It's really artistic and weird, and like it's very do it yourself. Like there's a lot of very cool things, and all that stuff really made an impact on me, just in kind of like ethos. But for like hard rock, it sucks. Like there is no rock in the Bay Area. Like I'm sure if anyone, there'd be guys who would, take issue with that. But like, hard rock,
Yeah, yeah.
like I did it for years here, and man, there's not a market for it. If you're in like a weird indie band that does something totally off the wall, you'll do great. Like a New York City kind of vibe. But if you're like, oh yeah, we sound like AC/DC meets Guns N' Roses, like no one's gonna come to your gigs.
Yeah. I was trying to remember what bands came from that area back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I think, didn't Vane come from that area?
Vane was here. Yeah. Okay. There was
that's all I
friend
could
of mine,
think of.
the Ruffians. There was a lot, and then all the Bay Area thrash, Testament,
Yeah.
all those dudes. But I mean, the big guys. I mean, that's why people always say like, oh wow, the Bay Area music scene must be amazing, like for rock, because so many great bands. Creedence, Santana, Metallica, Green Day, all these huge bands. Journey's a Bay Area band.
Yeah.
But those are all like decades ago. There's, and I'm sure there'll be more cool music from here, but there's just not much of a rock scene. And also live music, period, is tough here. Again, and that's sort of a coastal thing and a big city thing. Like, you go trying to get people to come to your gig in, Nashville or New York City is going to be tough. But if you're in the Midwest, people want to go see a band. If you just, not like necessarily a small town, but just not a town where it's, a little more jaded. Like that cliche, people bands say like, oh yeah, you play LA and everyone's kind of sitting there like, what do you got for me? But you go play in like Michigan and people are like, and that's way more fun to be at a show or to be playing a show.
Yeah, I bet. So when you started playing, you were what? How old?
I started playing guitar when I was 9. Pretty young.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's younger than I mean, if there's an average of playing guitar, that's probably a little younger than the average, right?
Yeah, usually like 12, 13. You hear most guys who like stick with it, starting at middle school age. I just really, really wanted to since I was a little kid, and constantly harassing my parents to get me guitar lessons, and then my mom made me wait. She said like, let's wait till you're 9, and then if you still want it when you're 9. So right after I turned 9, I was like, I'm 9, let's do it. And
you're counting the clock, watching the clock.
Yeah,
is there any other musicians in your family?
Not really. I mean, we had a guitar because before I was born, my mom like took some guitar lessons and just for fun. But both my parents are teachers, so I mean, my grandma was into music; she got a piano and all that. But yeah, no, like professional musicians.
And was guitar your first instrument?
Yeah, it was. Okay. That was the one that I.
You didn't want to play drums.
I mean, every kid wanted to play drums. So like,
I asked because a lot of the people I talk to on the show, they always start out on the drums. You know what? Mainly the singers, they end up starting out on drums for some reason.
I mean, Steven Tyler, the best example. But I mean, it always makes sense to me when I hear that, because like a great singer, so much of the vocals and the placement of lyrics it fits so right in the pocket with the drums. I mean, you think melody is the most important in lyrics and stuff, and that's true, right? But man, fitting in the pocket makes those melodies so much stronger.
Yeah. So when you started playing, what was your first band? Was it a cover band or original band?
Yeah, first band. I mean, I was in like a weird sort of jazz group, not like a high school jazz band, but like these horn dudes who were into jazz, and like I played guitar, and so we did like jazz covers, but like we do weird ones, So that was kind of fun, but I was a late starter with bands. I don't think I started a band until I was 18 or 19. Wow. So like early to start playing, but late to start like playing with other people. I just, I had friends. Again, not a lot of rock here, so there was only a few of us who were into like Guns N' Roses and Metallica, and we played guitar together. And of course, everyone just wants to be a guitar player. So it was just hell of guitar players. And,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and then, eventually I think, I had a band that was just, we did some covers and played like, the local street fair kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to move down to LA when you were younger?
I did really bad.
What
When I was
kept
a
you?
kid. What's that?
What kept you?
Well, I came pretty close a few times. I was always a little. I mean, it's so exciting, and I still love to go to LA because it's like I feel like LA is one of those cities that just has this buzz. There's like an energy to it because it's one of those places where it feels like anything's possible. Like you feel like your dreams could be realized at any moment. And not a lot of places are like that, and it's just fun. And there's so much of the business down there. So everyone's in the entertainment world, and like I love that. I've always loved that since I was a kid. That's all I've ever wanted to do was be in that world. So there's a lot of coolness to me of just sort of being immersed in, just walking down the streets. Like, oh, this is really fun. But of course, then the other side to that, which is the cliche, is like that sort of surface, real shallow, kind of selfish. In my experience, is also really present.
Yeah.
And you think about it, right? I mean, we're kind of music, especially, but all really the artists, actors, anyone in that world. Even in the most altruistic ways, it's still a self-centered pursuit in some level. So everyone is saying, "I'm good. Look at me," in one way or another, even if they're not like an egomaniac. But you have to get up on the stage play in front of nobody. You still have to think you're good enough to do that. So and then you get like the really good ones, and the ones who are really, I'm gonna make it. They all move to LA. And a lot of these guys all think they're pretty badass. So, and then the other cliche, everyone's like a waiter or like working at Starbucks until they make it. So, there's a lot of that like sort of ego craziness that can turn me off a bit.
Yeah. I used to live out there in Bakersfield, California.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I lived there for about 5 years. So I would go down to LA, but the wife hated LA. We were originally from Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So I always wanted to go down to LA and hang out, but she couldn't stand it down there. I thought it was cool though. I liked it.
It's fun, man. And there's still a ton of music, same thing, not a lot of rock.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I was out there, I walked by DJ Ashba and I called him. I said, "Hey, DJ." And he kept walking. He didn't talk to me. So what are you going to do?
Dude, my big claim to fame was we were playing the House of Blues on Sunset when it used to be there, and I went for like a long walk, like to get some exercise, like after sound check, and saw Christopher walking down Sunset. It was awesome. It was great. It was great.
That's funny. That's a good one. All right, so you stayed in the Bay Area, and then were you playing out in clubs and? Like, were you making a name for yourself out there or no?
I mean, a little bit. I was trying, but I was just in like a couple of local bands here. I was in one where nothing ever happened, but we did try really hard. Like, we got an investor and, we all like quit our jobs and just rehearsed 6 days a week and like did the whole thing when you're like really putting all in and, went and, made records at big studios and to lawyers and would do showcases and, like I said, nothing ever happened, but it was really, really good experience and great training on, what to do, what not to do. And just sort of being in that environment. And it really helped, I think, when I ended up joining Tesla because I'd already been exposed to a lot of that side of it, which could really freak you out if you never had been.
Right. And then Frank is the one that found you, right?
Totally, yeah, on Myspace.
Yeah, I heard that. Tell me that story again.
So yeah, I was that band that I was talking about had just recently broken up, and maybe a year before, and I just started doing my solo thing, and it was kind of out of frustration. I was like, man, I was like searching all over for singers. I'm just gonna sing myself, screw it, man. I'll figure it out. And so I started writing songs, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And made a really quick demo, very, very DIY, and made a MySpace page. totally like unaffiliated. Like I didn't have a manager or a lawyer. There was no juice,
Nothing.
right? It was just a dude in the wind, like, hey, I want to play music, and I like no big following, nothing. Frank Hannon found it by accident because remember they had the top friends, like those
Yeah, yeah.
photos. So there was a really cool photo from like some old club gig I'd played where I'm like all sweaty and the lights are on. It's like, oh wow, it looks like an arena or something, right?
You looked cool.
So it's a guy that he was looking at to maybe come jam with Tesla had me on his top 8, and as he's on the phone like checking him out, the guy's like, oh man, I'd love to, but I can't do it. And he sees, hey, who's this dude, Dave Rude? He said, oh, he's cool, give him a call.
That's
and
amazing.
It was unreal, dude. I mean, so it really was like just complete like a fluke because I had no connection to the band. That's another thing people often think, because usually when a guy comes into an established band, it's like used to be the tech or somebody's
Right.
cousin, and he grew up with the band. Like I grew up being a huge fan of Tesla, but I did not know anybody. There was zero connections. It was just totally out of the blue, and it was just a coincidence that I'm only an hour away. So he sent me a Myspace email, and like 3 days later, I went up and sat in with him at a club in Sacramento in his solo band, and
Amazing.
3 4 months after that, I was in Tesla. So it was a whirlwind.
Man, you could write a movie off that. Just that.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Were you a fan of Frank and Tommy?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally. I mean,
Did,
I was a big Tesla fan growing up.
did you have their posters on
So,
your wall?
I think I did. I did. I had a few, and I missed them. I missed all the shows in like the 80s, 90s heyday because I was a kid, so it was hard to get shows anyways. And then I happened to go see Tesla for like the first time like 2 years before I joined the band. It was crazy.
Wow.
Like I think I saw Tesla about 3 times in maybe a year and a half before I ended up in the band. It was really weird. There was all sorts of weird,
Universe was telling you something.
What's that?
The universe was telling you something.
Big time, big time. And
Yeah.
all 3 of the shows were great, watching them. And, so it was
Yeah.
cool.
So then you join up with Frank, and that was for his solo band, right?
Yeah, he took me out as like a second guitar player for his solo band for a 2-week tour that he did, like Midwest and South. And we hadn't told anybody yet, but he told me the very first night I met him, like it's really as kind of a long tryout or test period for someone to join Tesla. So
So you knew.
I knew from the day we met, not that I was in or anything, but it was like, this is all true. I am going on a solo tour, but it's kind of more cover for trying out somebody to be in Tesla starting in the summertime, and there's a real good way to see how it would work. And so I would go up to Sacramento, he would come down here, just did a lot of rehearsing, and then we did an RV tour and a couple more shorter runs, and did a lot of gigs. I was in his band for like a year, even after I joined Tesla. I kept doing gigs with him.
Did that put more pressure on you when he told you that?
No, but only because I think it's weird because it should have, right? Especially
Right,
being
you
a
would
Tesla
think.
fan. Like, I should have been freaked out,
Yeah.
but it felt really natural the whole time. Everything felt really organic, and that was another thing. I never wanted to join an established band. When I was younger, I was hella young and like just really wanted to do it on my own. So on paper, I didn't want to join any other older band that was just established band. And but as soon as I met him and we started playing, it just felt so right. And then he took me around and introduced me to the other guys in the band, and everything it was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This feels good.
Felt right.
It was really, it was just again, kind of an intuitive thing. It just felt right from the get-go.
Okay. Did you ever meet Tommy?
No.
No, never have. Okay.
I mean, like I shook his hand outside a show once, but when I was like waiting backstage, like, you know, and like kind of met everybody and like, hey, listen to my demo, you know, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
I was that guy waiting out by the backstage door.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Um, so then when the moment came when he asked you to join Tesla, or how did that happen? How did they say to you, we want you in Tesla?
You know, I don't remember an actual like point in time. I just kind of happened. I mean, I know, you know, Frank was pretty excited about it while we were out doing his solo tour, and so you know, he was. I don't know if there was never like they never like sat me down and like said, "Hey, it's official." It was just like, "Yeah, you're gonna come out and you wanna like do some shows in next month or something." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool." You know, it was so like casual and like relaxed, which again was part of probably what made it easy and feel so good because they're all such good guys. Like
Yeah.
there was never any weirdness or you know they always were very
Yeah.
welcoming. So that
Yeah, they seem like a pretty laid back group of guys. You know, I had Troy on the show a long time ago when I first started the show. He came on, and he was awesome. But the rest of the guys seem the same way. I mean, everybody seems real down to earth and just laid back and cool.
Yep, it's true. I mean, it's a fun band to be in, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So that had to make it easy for you to step in that spot.
Yeah, it was really again, it really just felt right from the beginning. So it's cool.
And did you know a lot of the songs playing with Frank's solo project? I'm sure you knew most of the Tesla songs, right?
Yeah, I actually hadn't heard much of the solo Frank stuff, but you know, he gave me a couple of CDs and I just learned it all real fast and you know, filled in my gaps in my Tesla knowledge, but you know, I knew all the Tesla hits pretty well anyways and um, I mean, I'd even you know taught guitar lessons. A couple of songs I'd already taught to people. So like I knew a few of them I knew really well, and the rest of them like you know if you grow up listening to a band, you can you know how it is in your ears. So then you just associate. You just like oh cool, yep, boom, got it because I've been listening to that song for 15 years, so I know it.
Right.
Yeah. So it fit pretty well, pretty quickly.
And then how was your first show with the band? I mean, how nervous were you, or were you nervous at all?
I was nervous, but I was more not a lot. Again, it was really just excitement, and part of that might have been because you know we had originally been scheduled to do the first show ever that I was going to play with Tesla was going to be at Shoreline Amphitheater here in the Bay Area, which is like the big outdoor amphitheater. It's like you know 15,000 people.
Okay.
And we were going to be supporting Leonard Skinner. And then like we got a rehearsal place and had the crew fly out and set up all this stuff. And, you know, it was this big operation. And then like less than a week before the show, it got canceled because Gary Rossington had a heart attack. Right. So, which was awful, but he recovered and they were back out on the road a couple months after that. But you know, it was really last minute, so they just like, I guess they postponed it. They rescheduled the show. It was a radio thing called Bone Bash, and they rescheduled it with Sammy Hagar being the headliner for 2 months later. And by that point, I'd been already out on the road playing a lot of big shows, and it really made a huge difference because so I had been nervous about that first show because I was like, oh my God, my first show ever is going to be this huge crowd opening for like Rock Hall of Fame dudes at like the place where I've seen some of my first concerts in my hometown. Is going to be like, I'm going to be nervous. And then when that like sort of like that pressure of that got taken away, it was like, oh, the rest of this is easy. Yeah. So we just sort of eased in and, you know, man, for me, I always would play clubs imagining that it was a huge arena anyways. So once there actually was a bunch of people there, it was more exciting, but it still felt the same. It wasn't like, oh, there's so many people. It was like, yeah, there's so many people. So
it's almost easier with more people, I've found.
Dude, I hate playing to nobody. It sucks.
Yeah, it's hard.
You get so much more excited, at least after you've been lucky enough to play in some bigger crowds, it's more like you feel more at ease if it's a big crowd. You know, it's weird if no one's there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So your first recording with Tesla was the covers album, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so that's another easy transition for you, right? Because it wasn't like you were going in performing new Tesla songs or writing songs right away, right?
Right. Yeah. It was great. You know, um, they had wanted to do this covers record, and so we would try out a couple different cover songs, you know, every couple days at these shows we'd been doing, and see which ones worked, see which ones felt right, see which ones the crowds reacted to, and at the end of that, it was like a summer tour when I first joined, and I think in November, December, we went and started recording. So it was pretty. I mean, it was a few months after we were already in the studio. So, you know, exactly your point. Like there wasn't that pressure of writing and like, you know, that would have been quite a lot. Like, I mean, imagine for them too, like have this new guy,
Sure.
way younger, you know, hasn't done anything. Like I wasn't like some established guy who like, you know, some sideman guy, you know?
Right.
So it was like, well, we don't know what he's going to be like, you know? So it was really easy. So it was kind of like doing half, you know, like we got to do the experience of being in the studio and like going and living together in Texas while we were recording and just, you know, not having any distractions and all that, without the added thing of like first having to write songs, because who knows what if it hadn't worked, you know, the creative stuff. So and that again is where like having already had a little bit of experience being in bigger studios was like really, really helpful, because like I knew the guy who engineered the record because I'd worked with him in the Bay Area. You know, it was really like fun and again just kind of was organic. It felt good.
So when did you start writing with them?
I mean, pretty much right away. I think we were probably already writing ideas on the tour for Reel to Reel, because then as soon as, you know, a year or two later, we started working on what became Forevermore, which was the first original record that I was in the band for, and yeah, I mean, I've written stuff on every Tesla record since I've been in the band, and that was one really cool thing, because, you know, I always had been writing a lot in whatever band I was in, and they were always super encouraging to and open to that since before we even had written a song. They're like, yeah, man, you got any ideas, bring them. We want you to write.
That's awesome.
Because it could, again, a lot of established bands wouldn't do that. Say, okay, we'll show you how to play the parts, but we're going to make the record. You know? But from the beginning, it was like, no, you're in the band. You're not some hired dude. Come on, let's go jam. Let's write some ideas. And
that's great.
It was so fun. So yeah, I mean, from Forevermore on, we've always written together.
And did the fans react well to you taking over Tommy's spot? Because as a Tesla fan myself, when I was a kid, I don't even remember the transition. I just remember all of a sudden you're in Tesla.
Yeah, there was not like a big to do, you know. There was not like some big. From what I remember, there was no big announcement or like stories about, you know, no thing happened.
Yeah.
You know. So it was just like all of a sudden there's this other dude now playing guitar. I was like, all right.
And he's great, so it worked.
Well, you know, that was the other thing I was always really so grateful for was, again, from day one, the very first show, the fans were always so cool. Like there was never any weirdness, like, you know, like the "Where's Joe Perry" signs, or, you know, like fuck you, new guy, like none of that.
That
like,
would suck.
It would have sucked really bad. And I've talked to people who've been in kind of my position in other bands now, who've joined established bands, who didn't get that, and like the fans didn't like them and were mean. And then the other guys in the band are like hazing them and all. Like, oh God, that would have been a nightmare.
Yeah. No, that's good. So you're in Tesla, and then you somewhere along the way you get that guitar that's hanging behind you, signature guitar.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. I mean, you're all of a sudden you're in Tesla, and then years later now you have a signature guitar, and it's like, you found me on MySpace.
Dude, it's nuts, right? It's like things can just happen like that. I mean, we were out with, it was on the Def Leppard tour in 2015. We started what became about 3 years of doing a lot of touring with Def Leppard. and it was on the very first run, and I couldn't sleep. A lot of times I have trouble sleeping on tour. So like 3 in the morning in my bunk, like awake as hell. And I've been like looking at a lot of old Metallica stuff lately, and at that point, always really loved James Hetfield's White V, the old one that all beat up. It's not even a real Gibson. It's like $100 copy. Um, and I'd never had a V, and I just God damn, I really want a V. So I'd already had like an endorsement sort of thing with Epiphone. And they'd done a couple ads and sent me some guitars and everything. I had a good relationship with them. So in the middle of the night, like half asleep, I emailed the person I was talking to there with and said, "Hey, I think you guys can make me a white Flying V." And and like I had a photo of I took a photo of this shirt, this Tom Petty shirt that I had with like a cartoon guitar on it that had it looked like that, and I sent it in and I never heard back. And then like 2 months later, we were playing Nashville at Bridgestone, and the artist rep at Epiphone was like, "Hey, what time can we come by to show you your guitar?" I was like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, okay." "What guitar?" Because they had never responded. I was like, "Well, it was a stupid idea. I shouldn't have asked." But they made me just one. Like, it wasn't a signature. It was just like, "Yeah, here you go. We made you this thing," and it was so cool. And I fell in love with it, and I played it every night. And for like a year, and it never even crossed my mind as like signature mod. It was just, oh, cool, I got this neat thing. But then I started to think about it, and every single, like literally every show we played, someone would come up to me after and ask about that guitar. "Where's that guitar? Can I get one of those? What is that made out of?" I'm like, "Oh, because it looks really unique."
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe we should. And then I started, I talked more and more to the Gibson people, and it was right when they started doing their transition. So I said, "Hey, what about doing a thing?" And they were like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And it all happened really quick because they sent me a prototype. I loved it, and that was it. That's what you buy in the stores.
Right. That's not available anymore, right?
I think it might not be in production anymore. Because they kept extending it. Like they would keep sending me another box of like the authenticity things to sign, way more than the original run. So they did increase it, but I've heard people say they can't get them anymore. So I don't think they're in stores. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a sharp guitar. I like the white, the neck and everything. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you're also during Tesla's time, you did your own stuff still, the Dave Rude Band, right? Okay, and the last album came out in 2013, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was The Key?
Yep, that was The Key. I came out on Rat Pack Records.
Yeah. Because I was listening to that, and it's some pretty heavy stuff, actually.
Yeah.
It's different than Tesla. So if I listen to Tesla and then put your solo album on, it wasn't really what I was expecting. Is what I'm saying. So I mean, it sounds good, and you're singing on it, which your voice is excellent, by the way.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah. Have you always had that heavier side to your original stuff?
I mean, I guess, yeah, I guess so. It's I write a whole bunch of different stuff, and when it was for like that, when I was trying to do my band, it just, a lot of that was like in the room, like 3 guys, like, yeah, so, you got big loud Marshalls, it kind of happened, comes out, big loud drums, and you sort of gravitate towards heavier stuff in that setting, I think. And yeah, I mean, it just sort of happens. All that's like, it was never really thought out. Like, part of me wishes I had thought out. We might have gotten farther, but like, it was always just like, I want to write some songs and let's do this. It just, and then the path kind of reveals itself, right? And because, a lot of bands have more of a direction. Like, we're going to write this kind of record and we're going to do this and have got a 5-year plan. I was like, I don't know. You want to jam? Yeah, that would be cool. And so it was all kind of haphazard again in that way.
Right.
And so it just sort of happened, just came out. But I mean, I love riffs, I mean, Guns N' Roses about, maybe my favorite band or damn close. So
that was your jam, huh?
Yeah, I mean that
Yeah,
Mr. Brownstone, Paradise
yeah,
City, just riff.
yeah,
That's where I want to live. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Okay. Are you still writing with your own band?
No, so the band at for all those years it was an actual band. It was my name,
Okay.
but we were a real band. But now about right actually before that record came out, we basically split up. We had been doing it for a long time, and it was like kind of had run its course. Um, I have been still writing a lot, and I actually now also on Rat Pack Records. This year I'll put out a new solo record that is done. This one it really is just a solo record, like a project, right?
Hmm.
I wrote it up by myself and recorded a lot of stuff on tour or at home, and then had a great drummer in Sacramento named Derek Deason play the drums on it for a couple. We just went in there for a couple of days, did all the drums, and then I just played everything else. And so that's kind of getting mixed. It's about to start the mixing process right now.
That's
Um,
exciting.
yeah, it's super exciting. You know,
Yeah.
I can't wait to have it be out.
Now, do you have a home studio? Do you record at home?
Yeah, yeah, home studio, but it's like it's not a studio. It's just where I record and play
Yeah.
music. So my home studio is really a Pro Tools setup. Like
Yeah.
I
That's all
don't
you need.
record guitars here. Exactly. I mean, I
Yeah.
recorded almost the whole record on my little Universal Audio Apollo.
Wow.
And I reamped the guitars later.
Yeah.
Um, so it's amazing what you can do nowadays
Yeah. Isn't
with
it?
what we set up.
When is it? When should we expect this? Do you have a time frame, or is this sometime
I,
this year?
sometime this year for sure, and I think realistically it probably would be not before summer. Just
Okay.
because we're going to start touring and shoot a video, liner notes, all the back and forth of all the logistics. But the record is done. It's just like the mixing and mastering needs to happen.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm hoping in the summer.
Yeah. Okay. Now, does Tesla have any current dates coming up?
Yeah, we've got a bunch coming up, and yeah, we leave in the beginning of March. We have a couple of short runs through the spring, and then it'll get busier in the summertime.
You gotta
Um,
love being on the road, huh?
oh man,
Because you guys are on the road a lot.
we yeah. Normally it's like 6 7 months of the year, not solid, but like you would kind of in and out, and it equals to being gone about half the year. Which I mean, we're so lucky to be able to do that. And have that be our thing.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to getting back to that. It was kind of a tease doing our like
Yeah.
couple of weeks here and there that we did in the fall, and then like, man, wait, why do we have to take a break now?
Yeah.
We kind of had a long break this time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Troy's not with you, right? He's not going to be with you.
I'm not sure yet what's happening for the
Okay.
next
Okay.
tour yet. Actually, honestly, we haven't talked to anyone for a while.
Okay. Yeah.
We all
Because I
kind
know.
of like made it through our 4 month break doing our own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Um. All right, Dave. Now you also do lessons. You still doing those?
Yeah, I've been doing that. Like again, we had all this time off, so I just went back to my sort of regular teaching schedule, and um, I it's something I've been doing since even before I was in Tesla, and
Yeah.
always have really enjoyed. And during the pandemic, kind of was forced to make it my main thing for a good year and a half, and but it was really fun, and it still is. Like it's definitely present tense. Like I love doing it, and I got a bunch of really great students and a lot of regulars, so
Hmm.
it's really fun. And I've definitely found um, when I'm teaching stuff, it makes me think of more stuff. Like I'll teach, and then I want to when the lesson's over, I want to go learn
Yeah.
whatever more about whatever it was, or make I should learn this, and so I'll buy like books and stuff like that. I probably never would have done if I wasn't thinking about it from that
Sure.
perspective.
Okay. Now, do you get new students, or teaching online seems to be like to me, it seems like it would be difficult to teach somebody something online because you can't actually be there to help them with their hand position or whatever they need to do. So do you take brand new students on guitar, or are they already playing?
No, I do. I've had a few like that had basically never played, and then some that are just, really beginners, but have, at least know how to hold a note
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, and all the way to advanced people who've been playing for decades. So, um, because I was a little hesitant too when, like, as far as doing it online,
Mm-hmm.
with a real beginner, but, I tried a few and it works fine. Like, it's the thing
Awesome.
is with teaching online, the only thing that you don't have is the ability to play at the exact same time. Like if when I used to give lessons in person, like, okay, this is how it goes. Okay, change this. Let's okay, all right,
Yeah.
and now let's play it, and we play together. Or if it's a more advanced student, we might jam. Like, okay, now do some improv, and now things like that. And that's a nice thing to have, but it's not like vital. Like the bulk of any music lesson is usually the teacher showing something to the student, and then maybe correcting it or tweaking it, or there's not that much of playing at the same time. So it's you don't really lose much by not being in the same room, which I was pleasantly surprised, and also again surprisingly, it still works well for beginners.
Mm-hmm. Now you had lessons as well, correct?
When I was a kid,
Yeah.
yeah, I took lessons till the end of high school.
Okay, so for a while.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I'm a big believer in it because
Yeah.
you have a lot of great players who were self-taught, but I think it's there's a lot of great players who did have lessons, and it most people who don't have at least some kind of help and instruction in the beginning, they just give up because it's hard. It's like
Yeah.
like or like maybe not give up, but like it's really easy to like learn a couple of songs and then that's it. Never goes any farther than that. But if
Mm-hmm.
you have someone there who can explain it and kind of help unlock the whole universe of it, then it
Mm-hmm.
can be like a lifelong thing that you're really into and really good at.
Yeah. What is it that you start people off with, like a new guitar player? I mean, how do you start them off with a lesson?
I mean,
What's
just
the most important thing?
I think the just the real basics. Like I mean, I like learning chords and songs. I mean, that's I think the number one thing because so much of the fundamental technique stuff you learn by playing songs. Like when I
Yeah.
first started taking lessons when I was a kid, all I learned was songs. Like for 3 or 4 years, I did nothing. Every week I go, my teacher would teach me 2 new songs, and we were singing too. It was like acoustic, more like folk and
Okay.
stuff. And that I mean, I'm really thankful that that was how I learned to play because I know a lot of people you learn from like their first lesson, they're learning all this technical stuff, and that's super boring. Like
Yeah.
it's it's fun later. I love all that stuff now, and I learned. I was one of the weird kids in high school who loved to play scales, but like most people don't, and you sure don't want to start someone on that who barely knows how to hold a pick, right? So my goal with lessons is to make it fun and to have whatever their goal is. Like, because a lot of people aren't trying to become the next Steve Vai. They just want to
Right.
learn how to play some songs and have fun with their buddies, and
Right.
And so, if that's what they want, like, yes, I can get you there. Or if like you're 15 and you want to be a huge rock star, I can help you do that too. It's like
Yeah.
it depends on what you're going for. But I think on no matter what the end goal is, it's got to be fun the whole time. So if it's like if whatever you work on with your teacher or your lesson is really really exciting, you'll just want to keep playing it. It's not like a
Yeah.
chore. Like, oh, I gotta practice. It's like, oh, sweet, I want to go play that guitar. I learned this really cool song in my lesson, or I
Yeah.
learned this really cool new scale, and this now I know how to do it. That's like the whole key to me, because then it's not work; it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Who were some of your guitar heroes when you were a kid?
Slash.
Slash is your guy. Guns N'
Yeah,
Roses.
Slash. But all the big classic guys. Jimmy Page, Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan is a huge one.
Yeah.
I really love Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, like a bunch. And I'm not a huge like shred guy, but to me, that even though those guys are the godfathers of that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're just I don't really think of like shred. They're just like
Yeah.
really, really good. The songs are so good and the playing is so good. It's just also really technically impressive, but it's more at the core just great melodies and playing.
Can you be a shredder?
I mean, a little bit. I don't know. Like, I can sometimes I like to do fast stuff,
Yeah.
and so I definitely do. Um, but when I do it, it's usually like it's more again in an improv way, and it
Mm.
just kind of it's weird, Like, but it's okay. I like weird, so
Yeah. It's good to be weird.
it's good to be weird, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
there's a million guys who can do really, really fast, whatever tuplets, like, but that's hella boring. Like to me, because I know a lot of those to get super fast, you kind of have to at least do a little bit of that of breaking stuff down into poly or sub rhythms and all that.
Mm.
Like to get super fast and super clean, it's got to be pretty well rehearsed, at least to a degree. And that there's nothing wrong with that. But just me personally, I I don't think about stuff in that terms. It just sort of flows. So you
Yeah.
end up with totally weird stuff, and sometimes there's some mistakes in there.
Sure.
But it's I don't know. For me, it's more fun, and I'm not thinking of it in like now I'm gonna do 30-second notes. And, like, oh, I've got this much time left, so I gotta speed up. Like it's oh, I guess I'll go over here now.
Did you get to meet any of your heroes? I mean, I'm sure Tesla had to make that happen for you a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean that's been really cool. We've fuck man, I met a bunch, but I of course can't think of anyone right now.
Because it's not true.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
God, I mean,
Did you get to meet Slash, your guy?
I met Sash. You know what's funny is I met Sash a bunch of times, but never since I've been in Tesla.
What?
Yeah, like what the hell? Like I was like super fan, so I'd go to shows and I'd hang out by the bus and like get an autograph and everything when I was a kid, and even like 20s or whatever.
Yeah.
And ever since I joined Tesla, it's just missed paths every single time. Like we've done festivals, we've done together. I know, like I'm friends with Todd Kearns and Brent and Frank in his band, and they're a great band, and I love them. And I have to do more shows with them. But anyways, yeah, I haven't met him since I've been in Tesla, unfortunately. No.
That's crazy to think about because you've been in the band a long time, 15 years or so, right?
Yeah, I mean 16. No, I mean it's weird. There was like we can call 2020 a gap year or something.
Yeah, you're still in the band though.
I mean, it's not like we didn't like revoke memberships or anything. We didn't do anything.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. So Tesla, are you guys working on a new album? Because you had a new song come out recently, right?
Yeah, we put out a song called Cold Blue Steel in August, and luckily my phone is ringing.
Hey, that means you're important.
So it's so that was sort of like we're back, like we're here, we're gonna go back on the road and new stuff. But it was just a one-off, and so we're kind of talking about doing more of those, like kind of maybe eventually adding up to an album, or maybe it's just some singles. I don't know.
That seems to be the thing now. Like that's
right?
probably the better way to go, maybe, right?
I mean, I feel like I go back and forth, but I think it probably is, at least for a band like us, right? Because, people want to see the older stuff, right? And that's great. We're lucky that there are those songs that people want to hear, and we're happy to go play them. And it's still really fun to do all the classic stuff. But it's fun for us to have a song or two that's new, and then we've got really cool diehard fans that actually do want new songs. Yeah. So we're lucky in that respect. But it's really more just I guess not to complain about the business or anything, but like the way the industry is now for most rock bands, not for like the really huge ones and the newer younger bands necessarily, but for most rock bands, it's a lot of work, a lot of money and effort, and not much happens. Like it's really just an advertisement for another tour. So because like you don't make money from it anymore. You make money from the publicity of the record that will hopefully then bring people to your shows, and maybe they'll buy merch and do a VIP and all that. But like you make like so little from record sales and streaming, if you're not one of those like top 10 Billboard artists, that it's like, what's is it worth spending all this time and money to make this huge production of an album,
Right.
and then you know, just because it's exciting to us? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah,
But you know, I've said that before, and we've done it, so who knows?
well, it's one of those things where, yeah, people would like to get an album, like to see a full album, but again, does it make sense?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You and I would like to see full albums because that's the time we came from.
Totally.
Reading the albums, holding the physical copy, but they don't do that anymore, right? So
No. Yeah, I mean, and I'm one of the weird ones who, like, when I like a band, I want to hear their new stuff too. You
yeah,
know? It's like you already got the old classic stuff. They're not going to stop playing their hits. It's just that there's also another new record, and maybe you'll like something there too. Like,
yeah,
there's no downside to it.
yeah,
You know, at least as a fan.
yeah. So with Tesla, you guys also got to record at Abbey Road. I mean, what was that like, walking in there and just getting that whole setup going?
Dude, it was just mind blowing. You know, like yeah, it was going to be the anniversary of Five Man, and we were going over there to do like the summer festival circuit, and so we made it happen to be in Abbey, and I mean, fuck, dude, it was great. It was nuts. Like that was actually one of the few shows that I mean, I can speak for sure for myself, but I think we all were a little bit nervous.
Yeah,
and it was like 10 people, and we had like a very small crowd.
I saw some of the video. You had I couldn't really tell how many people that were there, but it looked like you had some people in there.
Yeah, maybe like 20. It wasn't like a show. You couldn't buy tickets. Like we like invited people. A lot of it was press, like like reviewers or whatever. So it wasn't like that kind of nerves. It was just like, dude, we're in Abbey Road. What the hell? Like
right.
So there was just kind of pressure on ourselves, and it ended up being great. I mean, and it's just because I don't think you can like go tour those because it's still a working studio. Like you can go take pictures outside, and I think they have a gift shop. But like, I would have been really excited if we'd been on a European tour and got to go look at Abbey Road.
But
like
here you are
we knew
playing
here. Oh my God! So I mean, the fact that we got to actually make a record, it was unreal. Like the studio's amazing, and it really is like. It's that old school studio, and they've kept it the same, right? Obviously, and I'm sitting there staring and like kind of like staring at the wall, like whatever, and I'm like, I literally was thinking like, John Lennon, like stared at this exact same square on the wall while he was recording some song here, like, what the fuck? That's crazy.
Yeah, and you got it on video, so that's even better. So always be on video. I mean,
it's like at least people will believe us. It was pretty crazy. I was super excited, and then like they still have so many cool new artists and huge artists that still. Paul McCartney had just recorded there from his at that point newest solo record like months before. It's like in that room, like it's nuts. It's just mind blowing.
Wow. All right, so listen, with your lessons, are you still doing them? Are you still taking new students?
Yeah, I am. It's my website is daverude.com, and if you go there, there's a link for lessons, so you can, hit that and send me an email, and we can get in touch.
Awesome. All right, Dave. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but thank you very much. I'm glad we finally got this to happen.
Me too, man. A year in the making, and thank you so much for having me on. It was a really, really fun time chatting.
Yeah, man. All right, buddy. Well, listen, you take care, okay?
Okay, yeah. Sounds great, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, Dave. I'll see you, bud.
Bye.
Bye.